Hey guys, and welcome to a tournament showdown. I'm a Rubber Duck of War, and today I am leading the forces of Khorne, blood for the blood god and skulls for the dark throne, taking on the forces of Kislev. This was in one of Tyrann's recent Domination tournaments, and it was a bucket ton of fun to take part. I've been really enjoying playing tournaments again, and excited to delve into this one with you guys. It's quite a competitive and awesome game. We are going to be on the Eye of the North. I'm, of course, the red team here in the forces of Khorne. And we've got a pretty damn cool build. So we have some Chaos Warriors of Khorne halberds. Looks like a couple of those units, as well as some Bloodletters of Khorne. And the more I've played this game, the more and more I love the Bloodletters and Exalted Bloodletters. Our reserve forces is just drowning in Bloodletters to swarm into the enemy, do decent damage against the Polar Bear Cav, the War Sleds, all of the infantry, and they're quite fast to boot as well. We, of course, are bringing a Scarbrand to the Exiled, one of my favourite units to bring in the entire game. He hits so goddamn hard. It's quite fun microing him around, as he is high risk, high reward, of course, being a big, expensive target at the same time. With one Cultist of Khorne swagging into battle. He's going to be on foot today, so no horse for him. He is going to be coming in with the Gate of Khorne, so bring him as cheap as possible to get that Bloodletter summon. And we have one unit of Furies up in the skies. As for my opponent's forces, it is the traditional start for Kislev. War Sleds, and plenty of them. We in fact have 4 light War Sleds, not the heavy ones unfortunately, but hey, light War Sleds still pretty cool because they got Polar Bears. Let's give one of them a little neck scratch just to let him know, hey, you may be the enemies today, but I myself am a big fan of the Polar Bears in general. With a Patriarch helping lead the line, coming in with Tor's Battle Hymn, as well as the Lullaby for the HP healing. And we have Boris Urson on the glorious mount. Definitely the coolest mount in the game, in my humble little ducky opinion. And he looks freaking awesome. He is coming in with the Fury of Urson, which is quite a nice, powerful little buff there to himself. He has Stand Your Ground and the Sharp Blade. Massive fan of Sharp Blade in case he gets surrounded by infantry. You can really drag them down with that blade indeed. Without further ado, let's get this battle underway. We've gone for a massive overview battle look here. As you can see, we are going to move on towards objective 2. Our opponent, a little bit more mobile, is going to be able to switch up to both of the different objectives, using the mobility of his light war sleds in the early game. So what are we doing? Moving the halberds over to my home objective. I do have a unit of Chaos Furies here, just in case my opponent gets a little bit cheeky and really wants to push onto the infantry. Hopefully we can use the Furies to pin them in place. At least that's the plan. We've got a Cultist of Khorne as well, moving over to that side just to support. Whereas the other halberds, Bloodletters, and Scarbrands are going to be taking up a position nice in the middle. We can delve down to objective 2 if needs. But if my opponent moves all his forces here, we do have a bit of an avenue to objective 1 if need be. A nice slow start to the game so far. We do send some more Bloodletters of Khorne to the battlefield. They're going to bomb rush the middle as quickly as possible. Looks like my opponent has decided with the light war sleds to fall back a little bit here. There's halberds plus a hero plus flies. It's all a little bit too much of a hot landing zone, so he's going to be falling back, and I'm quite happy for him to do so. Allows me to rotate my Cultist of Khorne into the middle. My opponent does summon a unit of Streltsy. Big fan of Streltsy in general, just that long-range pressure can be pretty damn scary, and the fact they're pretty decent and durable in combat is always a nice boon, and they've been brought to the battlefield, no doubt, to try to whittle some shots down onto that middle objective, I would assume. And yeah, I like that play quite a bit. For ourselves, looks like we're just summoning more Bloodletters upon Bloodletters where possible and pushing them into the central position as the War Sleds do a little bit of poke, not want to get involved too much in combat, seem to be sitting back quite a bit as I sit on top of the objectives. And the battle really hasn't got going that much. We're stacking a bit of resources up to over 1,000 supplies now, and I'm kind of just waiting to see what my opponent does a little bit here whilst the halberds guard the objectives. Now we've got reinforcing Bloodletters starting to come up here to objective number 2 and just form a nice little bit of a death pit. My opponent is getting ready though. I got some Chaos Furies floating all the way around the back, waiting for the opportunity to jump on the Streltsy where at all possible. We are now getting into position down in this little bit of a choke point, so I can move up my Bloodletters to engage and try to force them off. And it looks like I'm using halberds plus Bloodletters to move up into the gap and just force off all these units, making sure that I can contain this objective. Looks like some Zargard have been summoned with the great weapons. Not a bad pick there whatsoever, but I'm not that scared. Yes, they'll be good against my halberd units, but Bloodletters will do absolutely fine up against the Zargard, at least cost effectively. And I'm summoning more Bloodletters to the battlefield, looking a bit of pressure maybe on my opponent's home objective, or wrapping around to the middle. I'm yet to make my mind up, but the Bloodletters have now forced the Streltsy back, which of course is really good news for me. There are a couple of the big bears here. We are going to be able to get to grips with the men of Kislev, and we are ripping and tearing, use these mighty cleaving blades to slice and dice my way through the Streltsy as much as possible. We also have halberds, Scarbrand, as well as the Cultists of Khorne pushing up just to try and drive back the force of Kislev a little bit as I do claim objective 2. We've got some Fleshhounds of Khorne summoned into the action, looking to push back the light war sleds where it's all possible, and more bloodletters, all of which are falling onto objective 2, and it has been claimed in the name of the Blood God. It does seem like we've got some Chaos Furies jumping down on the Strelts, so we might not be able to beat them, but we can at least do decent damage and hold them back. Big fight going on the top right here. I do attempt to rampage the light war sleds. Unfortunately, they didn't take quite enough HP damage, so none of these units are rampaging just yet. But we do get a big hit in there. Hopefully they will be soon. A nice little push out by myself. We need to be careful not to get isolated. Bloodletters do cleave their way through the Streltsy, which is good news. Halberds are desperately trying to catch up because Boris is certainly no joke going up against Scarbrand with that anti-large. So I'm going to be using my Colts here to summon some Bloodletters of Khorne because we're getting a little bit isolated here, which I don't want whatsoever. My opponent's doing a good job shooting with the light war sleds and whittling down our Lord's HP. But the Bloodletters are now swarming Boris as well as the Patriarch in a bit of trouble here as Halberds and more Bloodletters push up to help assist where physically possible. Objective 2 well and truly secured by us. Fleshhounds doing a decent job with the Bloodletters hunting down and pinning in the light war sleds. My opponent has objective 1 well and truly secured here. Zargard and light war sleds just holding it down as much as possible, but I do have a bit of an early dominant lead on tickets. Chaos Furies have been summoned, more Bloodletters as well, and that's going to be a common theme for my build throughout, just more and more Bloodletters wherever possible. I must admit, I'm such a big fan of that unit as a whole. The mighty Scarbrand's trying his best. He's exploding chariots left, right, and centre. He's getting shot up the arse, though, by the Streltsy, and I can say from personal experience, being shot up the arse isn't too lovely a feeling. The light war sleds are trying their best here. We have got a big fat surround going down on Boris, which is quite nice. But then he comes in with a sharp blade, and this is a big problem with bunching up like this. We're taking so much damage and being slowed. One of our units was a summon those. It's not the end of the world. And we're still doing really decent damage to Boris throughout. Scarbrand is going to decide, though, to fall back to the centre, which is getting a little bit hot here. With the light war sleds and Zargard now starting to swarm in pretty aggressively. Though Bloodletters should be able to hold it down alongside the Fleshhounds relatively well. The Zargard are something that I'm a bit worried and concerned about. Chaos Furies jump Streltsy and start to overwhelm them. My opponent does summon in some Winged Lancers to help deal with them, which is a good play there, I think, by my opponent. We saw a lot of units just floating around near my enemy's deployment zone right now. Colts of Khorne and Halberds dragging down light war sleds is pretty good news. And the Bloodletter's doing a decent job just trying to fall back now and get into a bit more of a sustainable position. My opponent does summon some Warbears into the action. The Bloodletter's going to have a good time up against them in general, but Boris is leading the charge now and trying to hunt down the mighty Scarbrand, who's looking very, very beat up himself, and he's trying to fall back as much as possible into the safety of my infantry. And we have more Fleshhounds as well starting to swarm the middle objective. I do get, luckily enough, a rampage Boris, so he can't really hunt me down too much, and hopefully the Warbears will be rampaged soon. Fleshhounds and Bloodletters being used in unison. The Fleshhounds to pin the enemy in place, and the Bloodletters to dish out the damage. Big Breath Attack comes in as well. Decent damage there by Scarbrand, who's licking himself at the lips, getting ready to charge in into the deep one more time as the Warbear Calf gets absolutely destroyed here and rampaged. I'm going to be hunting down that Patriarch in the middle, trying to take away the unit which is buffing and healing up my opponent. Is certainly a good play, and we're getting into some massive hits. The light war sleds, though, are applying a decent amount of pressure. With Chaos Warhounds and Bloodletters being summoned, I'm considering pushing objective number 1 because my opponent hasn't defended it at all. And the Halberds are starting to die now here in my earlier push, which lasted a long time. My home objective is really safe. We've got a unit of Halberds there. I'm not too fussed about that. And we're taking a really dominant lead here on tickets. So I like using this kind of time to get my advantage, get some cheap Chaos Warhounds. I'm not going to beat anyone in combat. But if I can jump on objective 1, I might be able to sneakily backcap it or force my opponent to spend resources going over and defending it. Scarbrand's still alive. It looks like he was able to kill the Patriarch. He's actually going after Boris now in a duel of the Titans. The duel of ultimate destiny going down right now as Bloodletters supported by Fleshhounds are all just fighting, and the light war sleds are in the thick of the action, as are the Zargard. You get a cheeky Snow Leopard coming in, and he is bounding through the ranks of friendly troops, trying to get to grips with Scarbrand. He's doing a decent job here. He's going into a bit of a blood frenzy rampage, and yet again another Shard Blade coming down from Boris Urson. Lovely play by my opponent. That's going to clear off quite a chunk of my infantry. I am pulling back Bloodletters where possible to try and escape the carnage of that. We do have a unit of Furies being summoned as well to apply a bit of pressure to Streltsy, and they've even jumped down into the middle. It seems like Scarbrand may go down here. Boris has been such a hound, just hunting me down. Bloodletters and Fleshhounds trying to support Scarbrand, but I think he is going to be gone with the Streltsy and light war sleds applying quite a lot of pressure. And down the Majestic Demon does go, though. It looks like Boris is looking pretty weak and beleaguered. I'm so close to capturing objective 1. Fleshhounds, oh no, Chaos Warhounds I should say, have a garbage leadership though, so they take a tiny bit of damage. and the mere presence of the winged lancers means they are going to retreat and fall away. We were so close to getting the triple cap, but alas, it was not quite enough. Middle objective is still ours, though. It's been a bit of a meat grinder in here, and that's really going to suit Khorne quite a bit. The Snow Leopard seems to be going down. Boris is struggling. Very cost-effective trades in the middle for me. And the Fury's just been a pain in the butt trying to hunt down Streltsy, that my opponent is reacting quite nicely with the Winged Lancers. Somehow the Cultist of Khorne is still alive, trying to come back into the middle and support, because I'm a little bit worried about losing objective 2 here. I have such a dominant lead, though, on tickets. I only really need to hold one objective at this point, as long as I hold objective 2 for a tiny bit longer. Flesh Hound's going to be moving in, as well as Bloodletters. Just swift, fast-moving resources. Reinforcements is so tasty. And it looks like Bloodletters will be able to get onto this objective before my opponent starts to cap it. And at the moment, I'm actually trading really effectively. Zargard going down, War Sled's going down, the Snow Leopard's broken, and Boris is surrounded by Flesh Hounds and Bloodletters, who do have the Horn of Khorne going down on them, popping that melee attack up to 58, which is scary stuff. That's so much damage being poured on. And it looks like the Winged Lancers do charge in, but alas, it may be their last charge. We have some dervishes coming in, the very, very cheap, basically peasant cavalry for the mighty Kislev, just trying to flood the central objective. We do have some light war sleds as well. Looks like they might be contemplating going over to objective 3, but decide, hey, we need to fight as one and really secure this middle objective. And this is one way to do it. You get some Streltsy down on these lovely Fine Arcs of Death. It's just a real funnel for bullets to go down in these types of maps. And those shots are really going to be quite painful. But luckily for me, I have a load of Furies jumping down and just harassing and surrounding the Streltsy as much as physically possible. There's a Snow Leopard back here. It looks like Winged Lancers will also be coming over to support. So that's definitely going to be a dead unit of Furies. But hey, they're doing their job well. I do summon a unit of Flesh Hounds, once again with the idea to apply a bit of pressure to that back objective if need be. Looks like Boris is going to be retreating, abandoning Kislev in their hour of need. That's not like him, but hey, you know, what can men do against such a reckless bloodletter play? Winged Lancers also going down, and I'm still holding this middle objective, despite the fact Streltsy are applying a lot of pressure. We also have Armoured Corsairs and more Streltsy being summoned. Their weight in infantry numbers hopefully going to be able to claim this middle objective, at least in my opponent's eyes. So at this moment, the Chaos Fury is actually going to drag away all of this kind of units which we're fighting, drag them into the middle, and that's going to free up space for my Flesh Hounds to dive onto their opponent's back objective and go for the cheeky triple cap. We have 4,150 tickets to 1.8k. That is a massive lead right now, so hopefully if I can claim this objective, it will be game. But it looks like Winged Lance is going to be charging back. Streltsy as well may even have to fall back, and the middle objective is slowly starting to be picked up by my opponent. Real back and forth. I am really running thin on resources right now. I do not have much whatsoever. I am able to summon yet another unit of Bloodletters, and they're up to Silver Chevron now. My opponent, though, is getting more and more units on the battlefield, which is pretty scary stuff. Chaos Warhounds will be jumping the Streltsy, looking to bring the pain to them. And I am actually winning this fight against the Winged Lancers with my Flesh Hounds. They were quite beat up on the charge, and if you get the nice charge from the Flesh Hounds anyway, you can tend to beat units like this. We're dragging down the Winged Lancers and claiming objective 1, which is pretty huge at the moment, because the middle objective is fallen. Streltsy just about able there to deal with the Bloodletters. Now the Winged Lancers going to be dispatched to attempt to apply a bit of pressure to objective 3, but with halberds there, more Bloodletters on the way, plus a unit of Chaos Furies. I'm looking to hold it where possible. Armored Corsairs are on the approach. We have Streltsy and a Patriarch can get moving and start fighting, but I am claiming this back objective, which could prove crucial here if my opponent doesn't realize the kind of trouble that's going on here. And it looks like the Winged Lancers will be going down. Boris is nearby, and we do have a Snow Leopard on the approach, and Snow Leopards hold quite a decent capture weight. Objective 1 may not be mine just yet, despite the fact it is so desperately close. In comes the Snow Leopard. I love the way they bound across the snowy plains, and that's actually going to stop me from capping it here, which is a bit of a disaster, but alas, it does not matter. I may lose the middle objective, but I'm able to hold my home objective, and that is going to be a juicy, juicy victory to myself and the forces of Khorne. Hope you guys enjoyed this Domination game. Been a little while since we did a Domination one. Done quite a lot of land battles recently, so I hope you guys appreciate the awesomeness here. And it was a lovely tournament battle. Well played to my opponent. Everyone I played in this tournament was really awesome, and it was a load of good fun. As for Scarbrand the Mighty, 2.3k gold value is not shabby whatsoever. Although Boris, 1.5, we actually did manage to outdo the enemy general, and that's something Scarbrand always looks to accomplish. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a big old thumbs up, subscribe, and comment down below. All those free things help the channel massively, and there's a load of links down below in the description. Twitch, Patreon, and Discord, all that kind of awesome stuff. Discord's where you can submit replays to the channel, and I may be streaming on Twitch today. It depends how I feel, but me and Logic may be doing some back and forth games on there for a couple of hours, so feel free to go check that out. For the rest of the value, 660 gold value on the Cultist isn't bad. 1.1k on this unit of halberds is very impressive. The other one, full health, just never contested my home objective. They did a good job though babysitting. 990 gold on the Bloodletters. We also have 640 on the Chaos Furies there. Mind Tools were never summoned, unfortunately. It was just Bloodletter spam. And honestly, it is really quite powerful. 77 kills, 34, 16, and 40 with 1.8k, 1.9k pretty much. 770 and 888 gold value. All of them performing so amazing here. Bloodletters really do carry their weight. 1.2k on the Flesh Hounds, 1,440 and 0. So not bad stuff across the board. That's my opponent. Boris was used relatively effectively. Did eventually flee though and break his oaths to protect Kislev with his life. 1.5k value on him, only 700 on the Patriarch. Light Warsteads, of course, are always going to be a menace in the Night of 106, 60, 95, and 46 kills. 1.8k, 1.5k, 1.1k, and 1,000 value. All of them performing amazing here. The Warbear Riders, only 500 value, kind of getting slaughtered. I focused by them down quite a bit in that middle fight, and they just didn't have the best targets when the Bloodletters got to grips with them. 650 value on the Tsar Guard. The cavalry did okay, nothing amazing. Likewise, the Streltsy. One unit kind of performed above the rest with 1,000 gold value, the others suffering a little bit there. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.